The problem is that these courses cost money. So like what they're saying is, right, you're watching me right now. You're infested with these thetans from 75 million years ago. That Xenu of the Galactic Federation, he caused this. And so now when you're sick and you're tired and you're confused or have mental illness, or you have any of these things, or you believe in God, or you believe any of these things, this is the cause. This is the main problem. And what you have to do to fix that is you need to go to the Scientology church. You need to sign up, and then you need to pay them thousands and thousands. And even by the end, when you start getting up to the higher OT levels, they say you have to spend at least like $300,000 to get all the way to the end of the course. And if you just give this church $300,000, they will lead you down the path that will get these thetans under control, and you can be a superhero. You could be a superb human, the highest of high, the top moral specimen here on earth. It just sounds like a red flag right off the jump. What's going on? It's another episode of the Joe Teel podcast. I'm your host, Joe Teel, and today we've got a fun one. I haven't really done anything like this before, so I'm super excited. I'm going to be checking my notes a lot. I'm going to be looking a whole bunch of things up, but today I have got to get into the subject of the cult of Scientology. There's so much that needs to be talked about today because I have been down the rabbit hole. My mind is officially blown, and I just want you all to hear this stuff that I have been hearing, and then we can all make our minds about it later, and you can use that information however you want to. But Scientology was created by a dude named L. Ron Hubbard. Now, it's technically called the Church of Scientology. Let me explain to you who created this religion. A science fiction writer. The guy is literally known for writing the most science fiction books, like ever. And this is the guy that created this real religion after writing all these other fake books. That's red flag number one. In 1950, Hubbard puts out his first book called Dianetics. It's basically what he was saying was the new version of mental health stuff. And through Dianetics, he could heal all type of mental issues. And as you'll learn later, they are super, super against psychiatrics. And so when the American Psychological Association rejected his claims, Hubbard shifted to a religious structure, founding the Church of Scientology in 1954. So what that says to me is he used to write a bunch of fake stories. He came up with some play he thought he could get people on board with. Then when the psychology people first heard about it, like the real psychology people, they were like, hell no, that don't make any sense. And so he was like, what can we do? This was rejected. I know. We'll make a church out of it, right? We'll get tax exempt and we'll turn it into a religion. You're in America. It's a place of freedom of religion. This is the perfect idea. So what do Scientologists believe? Well, if you get really, really deep into the ranks, you'll find out that they believe some really wild stuff. The problem is that the really wild stuff is it's camouflaged in, and you have to spend a lot of time, a lot of money, and because the courses aren't free, you have to move up these ranks in order to figure out what they actually believe. So it's not till you get to something called OT3, which is basically a level of working your way up, that you actually figure out, okay, what is this? Like, what do we actually believe? Because in the beginning, like I said, it's kind of camouflaged with self-help stuff. And that's how they kind of draw you, and we'll get to that process here in a minute. But let's get into what they actually believe, because we have the internet. We can go figure this stuff out. You know, the age of the internet has really done a big hit on Scientology because Scientology doesn't really make much sense, and I'll explain that here. Look, according to documents written by L. Ron Hubbard, 75 million years ago, the universe was ruled by a galactic confederacy of 76 planets, each heavily overpopulated. Some say over 250 billion beings per planet. The leader of the confederacy was Xenu, who feared he would be overthrown. So what did he do? He rounded up billions of beings, in parentheses, thetans, and we'll talk about those. He froze them and transported them to Earth. Then he called the TGAC, which I I had to look that up more. He dropped them near volcanoes, places like Hawaii, Las Palmas. Hydrogen bombs were then detonated in the volcano, killing the bodies of those beings. After death, the souls of the murdered beings called Thetans were captured by Xenu using electronic traps. These Thetans were brainwashed with false ideas like religion, God, morality, via giant movie screens in a 3D process called implanting. This sounds like some science fiction. This is a guy that wrote science fiction stories. This is just another story, y'all. These body Thetans were clustered together and attached themselves to living humans, causing spiritual confusion, mental illness, and emotional problems. So basically, these spirits, after the explosion, are now attaching themselves. So all of us, we all have these little attaching things to us. And what they're doing is they're causing spiritual confusion, mental illness, and emotional problems. So when we look around the world and we see all these problems we're having, this is what they attribute that stuff to. Oh, he's not thinking clearly. Oh, the Thetans have confused him into thinking of things like Christianity or Muslim or religion, mental illness, all that stuff. And emotional problems all can be traced back to the Thetans. So what is the implication on Scientology? Every person today is said to be infested with body Thetans. The purpose of the advanced OT levels is to identify and remove these body Thetans through solo auditing. Once removed, the person supposedly becomes more spiritually free and powerful. This is nuts. They're saying you're infested with these Thetans. You have to go through all these levels in Scientology in order to figure out how to control these Thetans. And then you'll be able to do unnatural things and you'll be able to be peaceful and not have mental illness and to be emotionally in control. And basically as like a super being, right? Once removed, the person supposedly becomes more spiritually free and powerful. The problem is that these courses cost money, right? These courses cost money. So like what they're saying is, right, you're watching me right now. You're infested with these Thetans from 75 million years ago. That Xenu of the Galactic Federation, he caused this. And so now when you're sick and you're tired and you're confused or have mental illness, or you have any of these things, or you believe in God, or you believe any of these things, this is the cause. This is the main problem. And what you have to do to fix that is you need to go to the Scientology church. You need to sign up. And then you need to pay them thousands and thousands. And even by the end, when you start getting up to the higher OT levels, they say you have to spend at least like $300,000 to get all the way to the end of the course. And if you just give this church $300,000, they will lead you down the path that will get these Thetans under control. And you can be a superhero. You could be a superb human, the highest of high, the top moral specimen here on earth. It just sounds like a red flag right off the jump. Why is it controversial? Hubbard claimed that this was literal history and not a metaphor. Scientology denies the story publicly, even though there's parts of the core confidential teachings. Critics, including ex-Scientologists, say learning the Xenu story is often shocking, especially after years of being told Scientology is simply a self-help system. So that's what I'm saying. They're out on the streets and they're finding vulnerable people. They're finding people that are confused and maybe falling into some of these attributes that they're trying to say that the Thetans are responsible for. But they don't say any of this crazy shit. They don't say any of this crazy shit when they're recruiting you. They don't say, hey, come learn about Xenu and the Galactic Federation. They don't say that shit. They say, come in here and take a personality test. And they have this thing called an e-meter. And the e-meter is this little thing they hold and they ask you questions. And from what I understand, it's kind of sort of has like maybe similar to like a lie detector. And it's basically giving them readings kind of off of the responses of what you're saying. And they've learned how to manipulate that and basically use what he wrote in 1950, Dianetics, to open you up. And they hit you with this we can fix all your problems, and they have this really good method. It's not good, but they've honed it in method of getting you to admit things, getting you to say that, the embarrassing things about you are the things you struggle with and getting you really open. And then it turns into like, even though they're psychiatry. It's basically therapy meant to open you up and make you vulnerable to teach you what they're trying to teach you. And on the outside, let's just say it stopped there, right? This is already wild. This is already cult activity. You know what I mean? They're preying on the vulnerable. They're, but they haven't done anything illegal yet. And even to this day, it's hard to hit them with anything illegal because they always say, well, these people are volunteering. These people are signing up to do this. But here's where it takes a turn, right? There's two different kind of Scientologists, right? You have a public Scientologist. That's somebody that can just be out in the open, just a regular dude or a regular lady, and they practice Scientology. So they may go like 2 hours a day and just go do their Scientology work, and then they kind of return to real life. But then where all this takes a dark turn at is that there is this other brand of Scientology person, and that would be if you fell into the camp, if you go sign your life away, and not only your life you have right now, but a billion-year contract. Let me break this down. Let me say that again. Billion-year contract, because they believe in some sort of form of reincarnation. Basically, once this life is over, you'll start again. And, the more you learn in this life, the easier it'll be next life to do the Scientology thing. And unfortunately, that's why suicide rates are, I believe it's like 10 times higher in Scientology, because a lot of people don't really value this one life. They think, this one's not going great. We'll try it again. Another weird thing that they have tied to that is they say that the psychiatrists wipe your memory at the end of your life. And so that's why when you start a new life, you have to go find Scientology again, because the evil psychiatrist responsible for religion, God, and all the other things, you know what I mean? They've wiped your brain. You have to come back to Scientology. And guess what? You in your next life, you still got to pay that fee, brother. That's where, like, if you really start critically thinking on this, it's a little wild. You keep paying that fee. The Sea Org, short for the Sea Organization, is an elite paramilitary style religious order within the Church of Scientology. It is often described as the church's most loyal and devoted inner circle. Now, on the outside of that doesn't seem all that heinous. Paramilitary style religious is not good, but it gets worse. Key facts about Sea Org. Founded by L. Ron Hubbard in 1967, originally created when Hubbard took to the sea with a group of Scientologists on a fleet of ships to escape legal trouble and developed advanced teachings. The Sea Org became, and let's stop right there. Let's not get this confused. The reason he went to the sea is because he was facing legal trouble, right? The whole existence of the Scientology church, they have had a lot of trouble because once you look into it, it's like, oh my God, this is terrible. And so, yeah, they've had a ton of legal problems. So he went to the sea. Sea Org became the church's command structure and still exists today, mostly on land now. Here's the crazy part. Like I was saying earlier, billion-year contract. Members are required to sign a symbolic billion-year contract reflecting their commitment over the countless future lifetimes as immortal Thetans. It's meant to show complete dedication to the mission of Scientology. Life inside is terrible, and I haven't mentioned David Miscavige. Sea Org members live in communal housing, often in Scientology-owned buildings. They wear naval-style uniforms and follow strict discipline. I think they wear some version of the Coast Guard's uniform, and that's kind of funny. And no one ever messes with them because they're just like, they're not actually like trying to impersonate our actual military, so they leave them alone. But it's weird. Work long hours. It's said that they often work 100 hours a week or over 100 hours a week with little to no pay, usually small stipends like $50 a week. You're signing your life away for a billion years because you think you're going to keep reincarnating. You're signing away for a billion years to work 110-hour weeks for $50. Whoa. This is where stuff starts taking a turn, and you start realizing like, oh, dang, communal housing. And what they haven't said here is that they're basically living in apartments with bunk beds. And then one spot they're living in an old hospital. So they're basically in hospital rooms with bunks and overcrowding of people. There's lots of stuff about kids. There's lots of stuff we have not even scratched the surface. This is going to be a tough one to get through for sure. Romantic relationships are restricted and monitored. Couples must be married to live together. Having children while in the Sea Org is discouraged, sometimes leading to forced abortions. Yeah, it's terrible, right? Forced abortions. Let's think about this. Let's call Sea Org what it is. What it actually is basically tricking people through it being a religion, tricking people into labor for practically free. It's practically slave labor. It's so wrong. It's so cruel. And it's so vile. And they're so strict. And no, you can't have kids in there because if you're pregnant, you can't work 110 hours in a week. You're no good to them. You're no good to them. And the way they treat babies, you don't want to have babies in this deal. And we'll get to that too. But no, they can't encourage marriage because, I mean, they can't encourage having children because that's going to mess up the flow of their practically free slave labor. It's insane. They have their own security. They have their own structure. They have, especially in Los Angeles, they at their big place in Los Angeles, they have cops that pretty much, there is even a couple cops that are Scientologists, which makes it tough for them to do anything. It's evil. It's evil, y'all. And I cannot believe I did not know about this. Let's get more into the Sea Org. Sea Org members run day-to-day operations of Scientology globally, including management, finances, legal actions, and high-level auditing. They enforce discipline, investigate, or punish those who speak out or fall out of favor, often via internal ethics punishment like Rehabilitation Project Force. You get in trouble. If you get in trouble, they're going to give you, it's like, it does kind of remind me of when I was in the Army. If you got in trouble in the Army, they just give you shitty details. They give you the worst of the worst things that had to be done, right? This is what they're doing. Let's say, because they're prized people are like Tom Cruise or these famous John Travolta, these famous people that you've heard about that are Scientologists. And, in Scientology, celebrities get treated like royalty, right? Because it's their big draw. Tom Cruise is like the king of Scientology because he surrounds himself with people that are Scientologists and they do like all his day-to-day biddings like a god. He has a penthouse right in the middle of like their community. And the crazy thing about it is that while I'm describing all this horrific stuff that's happening in these compounds, that's what they are, compounds, basically, because they're gated in. You can't leave. The windows are always closed. You go to the welcome center, and if they feel like you're what they're saying here, a suppressive person, that's what you get labeled once you speak badly against the Church of Scientology, they'll lock the doors on you. In the welcome center in Los Angeles, in the welcome center, they will close they have a button where they just close the door on people they know that are going to say negative things about Scientology, right? Because there's this guy, the Scientology audit. You need to go check him out on YouTube. Go watch his videos. It's absolutely insane. It's insane. Like anyway, this guy can literally come near somebody working in Scientology and they will run away to the closest door or gated community and shut themselves off. It's crazy. He'll be like, yeah, go inside, boy. Go do what you're told. Go inside. Yeah, you don't have no choice. You can't talk to me. It's crazy because it's clearly a cult. And there is like a deep talk to be had about, because I do think some people get a bad rap for joining these things. Like, oh, what a dumbass, what an idiot. But like I said, they're preying on the vulnerable. A lot of these people, you see these ex-Scientologists, you're like, well, why did they ask them, why did you join? It's like, well, I was going through a divorce, or I was going through a breakup, or I was just in an awful time in my life. And the way they present it is not cult-like. But before long, they get you in these environments and then they start using the Dianetics tactic. And before long, you're telling them all your secrets and you're signing up for courses. I think the way you determine how, like the level of seriousness a cult is in is by how difficult it is to leave. I really think so because you could call things cults and a lot of things kind of sort of fall under the dictionary definition of a cult. But like a real dangerous cult is one that is really difficult to leave, right? And I think that's fair to say. So It's extremely difficult. Members who want to leave go through a process called routing out, which can include weeks or months of interrogation, manual labor, and confession. Those who leave improperly may face freeloader bills, invoices for the supposed cost of auditing, and training they received, often tens of thousands of dollars. So they're going to say, you say, okay, I'm done. I want to break ties. They're like, okay, well, you owe us more for all this. You owe us more for all this shit we did. We taught you how to audit, which auditing is basically the practice that I've been talking about, where they get you one-on-one, sit down with you, and they start using these tactics. They start using the e-meter. They start using all these things to get you to reveal things, and they're supposedly there to help you and build you up. But what they're doing is basically just getting all the information they ever need on you to lock you into this thing. And then when you leave, you're going to owe a bunch of money, and they also know all your secrets. They know all your secrets. And here's the thing, inside of Scientology, you are encouraged to snitch on your it's a bunch of damn snitches, for real, because of how the system works. That's another part of how you rank up. Let's say you go to a dinner party and you're not really supposed to drink. They'll say, okay, well, I was there at a dinner party and I saw so-and-so. I saw so-and-so drinking a whole bunch of wine and dancing on the table. Okay, well, 15 people are going to write a report on so-and-so. So then he's got to know, next time I get audited, I need to go in there and I just need to go ahead and tell them that I drank a bunch of wine and danced on a table, because they're already snitching on me. And then they're going to put them through some type of interrogation and type of rehabilitation type deal where they're going to just get you back to acting right? But this whole process, they've just been gaining information on you, right? So then when it's time to leave, you owe them all this money. They know all your secrets, and they hire private investigators to start digging up dirt on you. And they make sure that once you leave, it's very difficult for you to go out and say bad things about Scientology, because they're going to work this whole campaign. Yeah, David Miscavige literally has had hit pieces put out on his parents. This is the guy. This dude's wife has not been seen since 2007. This guy's wife has not been seen since 2007. She was very public. She was always by his side. She was a part of Scientology. She was an integral part of Scientology. And she basically was with him 24/7. And then this guy who they say is known for anger problems, who they say is known for not being a kind leader, a suppressive, which they hate that word suppressive, but I mean, that's really what he is. And leading in an almost dictatorship type way, this guy, his wife, all of a sudden just goes out of the public and you never hear nothing from her again. Leah Remini, King of Queens, the sitcom. I had no idea. She was in Scientology from the age she was 11 to in her 40s. She did 30 years in Scientology. And so she started moving up the ranks. She got to OT3, and you'll find this out if you watch her show. She has a documentary on this. And also you can go watch her from 8 years ago on Joe Rogan had her on, and they had about 3 hours of talking about all this. And she had reached level OT3, and that's where they finally start telling you about Xenu and the Thetans and the volcanoes and hydrogen bombs and all that wild shit. And that's when she gets up to the ranks, and then she realizes, hey, where is Shelly? Where's Shelly? So people start asking, where's Shelly? And then Leah herself fires a police report. And so the police finally do look at it, and so they say, okay, one police officer, I think it was a detective, said, no, we've made contact with her and she's good. She's okay. She's just out. She's just disappearing from the public for a while. Publicly, she has not been seen since 2007. So you take that information, you do what you want to do with it. And I'm just alleging things. I have no proof here. But very interesting, right? Very, very interesting. It's crazy, dude. Yeah, I don't think he's a good guy. I don't think that guy is a good guy. He joined Scientology as a child, became an auditor by his teens, joined Sea Org at 16, and rose through the ranks rapidly. After Hubbard's death, Miscavige took control of the church in a power struggle that pushed out rivals, including the son of Hubbard's longtime associates. He declared himself the protector of Scientology's legacy, claiming to uphold Hubbard's vision. Known for being ruthless, controlling, and intense, multiple ex-members, including high-ranking officials, accuse him of physical abuse, running the church like a high-control authoritarian group, disconnection enforcement, forcing members to cut off family and friends, labeled suppressive. He has been subject of lawsuits, investigations investigative documentaries like Leah Remini's Scientology and The Aftermath. Right. So this is her. That's her deal if you want to go check that out. He lives in a compound now. He basically has shut himself off from the public because, so here's the deal. Let's talk about this. And a lot of this is just what I've gathered from all this and where I'm taking it. This guy has only done one deal. I believe he was on one late night show and that went terribly from what I hear. And this was in like the 80s. And so now you got to think it's 2025. We have AI. Look how fast I figured out everything there is to figure out. Like, I went and watched some documentaries and did things. This is about 2 or 3 days of like around the clock looking into it to kind of come up with a pretty full picture of what it seems like is happening here. Right. And that's not something that could have been done in the 80s or even the 90s or maybe even the early 2000s into the 2010s. They definitely probably started feeling it. But now in the 2020s, with AI, with Google, with podcasts, with documentaries out the ass, people are understanding what's going on here. And so it's turned these people, that's made them weird. It's made them recluses. It's made them have to try to do their thing very tactically, right? Which they have a YouTube channel. Everything they do gets millions of views. It's absolutely nuts. It was revealed to me the other day. I just figured out through a source I trust that there's only actually like 25,000 members left. But the crazy thing is that they have over $200 million easy. I believe it might be closer to, I think I saw somewhere like $3 billion worth of real estate here, and they're tax exempt. So we got to talk about that. Do we think do I think your church down the road should be tax exempt? That seems like that can be fair, right? Because they're living off what people give them and it's not a cult. People can leave whenever they want. And, people are donating their own money. And, the church is hopefully a positive place and all, that type of deal. This is not that type of situation. This is a people. You have to, if we let's zoom out and look at this. This is a cult. This is not just a religion. This is a cult. This is a cult that has amassed a crazy amount of wealth, some stars to be the poster kids for it, the poster child for this big thing, courses that cost money, free labor, basically people signing themselves away to be slaves. And those same people are tax exempt. I mean, the whole thing could be a real estate scam, like literally could just be a real estate scam. And everything they're doing is just to make sure they have the pieces in place to continue a massive scale real estate scam to keep flowing the money in, allegedly. You feel like you got to throw some allegedlys at it. I wonder, because I know you get attacked if you speak on Scientology. So like, I'm just some random dude from Texarkana. I wonder like if it's so, like if lots of people go after the church now that they don't have the resources, what do they do to me? I don't know. That'd be interesting. Maybe I shouldn't say all this. I don't give a shit. But very interesting for me to get into something like this. It was real casual, right? So I watch a lot of Julian Dory, shout out to Julian Dory podcast. And I realized that I'd actually heard the Aaron guy that's an ex-Scientologist, speak on Lex Friedman, and also saw David Miscavige's niece, who grew up in Sea Org, left. And now she's very public and she's speaking. She was on Julian Dory. And then Tommy G, go look him up on YouTube. I like his stuff, really cool. He just goes places. He tries to go in and he tries to take cameras into, there's the two main facilities that are the two big ones left, the one in Los Angeles and the one in Clearwater, Florida. And they're huge. They have so much real estate. And the one in Florida, they've bought up almost an entire downtown area of a city. It's nuts. Tommy G goes there and he starts to try to ask questions. He tries to go to the Welcome Center. If you go to the Welcome Center and you're on some like, tell me about Scientology, but they can tell you're not like someone that they can prey on, they will immediately kick you out, force you to leave, security guards, pepper spray in your face, get off the property, get the fuck out of here, call the police on you, do the whole nine. And so that's what was happening with Tommy. They would kick him out. They tried to send a guy in. I guess word had spread that they were in town. All the doors were locked. And these people, they went to like the apartments where these people live that live in the Sea Org deal in Florida. And it's a gated community but that has security guards and over 5 cameras at all the gates. And you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't leave unless they let you leave. And they have to be there to let you back in. You're only getting $50 a week and you're working 100 hours a week. It's absolutely insane. These people are trapped. They went in for self-help. They went in for some type of enlightening, the same way people have been falling into cults or falling into other things throughout history, except in this instance, you're in a bad place with bad stuff. And so, but then the way they handle things, you start to believe this is normal. You start to think what life is. You're encouraged to not speak to outsiders. You're encouraged to not speak to the police. It's scary. It's scary. Once they lock you in, you get part of that. And so, like, when people leave, they're out there now and they're saying this stuff is so crazy. And now with the internet, to bring the point full circle, the internet, people are figuring out that this is not good. So, like, I have my little show. I said, well, hell, I'll do my part. I'll make an episode and say, hey, this is not good. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. So yeah, Tommy G tried to infiltrate it. And so the other day I was at my buddy's house and I like getting into stuff like that. So they were all in the house watching TV and I took my plate outside. We was at a cookout and he has YouTube outside. I was like, well, I'll just put a little documentary on, watch this. And that's what first got me thinking about this and seeing this. And I'm telling you, the people, man, in all these videos, all the videos you see of like the Scientologist people, the workers, there's like this glossed over look in their eyes, like they're just not in touch with actual reality. And it's this program that has preyed on them. And it's so evil. It's so evil. So let's get back to the beginning. There's still more to talk about. I need to go back up. Yeah, ethics in the church. Members follow strict ethic codes and are encouraged to report on other members. Like I said, they're snitching. Critics of those who leave the church, especially publicly, are often labeled suppressive persons and may be disconnected by their church and family. So I'm going to ask, that was point number 7 on here. I'm going to say, tell me more about point number 7. And this was a fun way to get on here and start researching. Like I said, I've went to a ton of sources and took in a ton of information, but AI is really handy because you can really dial in what you want to know. And you can't believe everything you see on here. And some of this stuff is alleged, but we're going to work through it. Psychiatry is pseudoscience. It's fake. It's fake news. Scientologists believe that mental illness is caused by Ingram's traumas stored in the reactive mind, not chemical imbalances or psychological disorders. Therefore, they argue that talk therapy and medication don't help and may actually harm them. It's crazy that they say talk therapy doesn't help, and that's basically what they're doing, just with some added steps. Psychiatry is abusive and corrupt. Hubbard claims psychiatry was behind many of the world's evils, including the Holocaust, good Lord, school shootings, mind control, oppression, totalitarianism. Psychiatric drugs are destructive. Scientology is strongly anti-medication for mental health. Drugs like antidepressants, ADHD meds are viewed as poisons that disconnect the person from their spiritual self. I'm not a doctor. I have my own beliefs on this. I'm not a Scientologist. I actually lived through watching my mom struggle with like the antidepressant round, what it did to her, what it turned her into, and the final effect of all this on her. And so like maybe I'm not super on board for psychiatric drugs myself, but I'm sure, and I do want to say this, I'm sure they have helped people, and I'm not discouraging you from trying that. I am just saying that I did watch my mother basically get the life took from her from those. So I don't know. We're not on the same page. I'm just saying that is just my thoughts on that right there. Citizens Commission on Human Rights, founded in 1969 by the Church of Scientology. The CCHR is a front group focused on exposing and eliminating psychiatry. The group lobbies governments against mental health laws and medications. That's crazy. Let's talk about Tom Cruise while we're here. Tom Cruise is Scientology's most famous and high-ranking celebrity member, almost a public ambassador for the church. His relationship with Scientology is deep, personal, and tightly connected to the church's leadership. How it started. Cruise was introduced to Scientology in the late 1980s by his then wife, Mimi Rogers, who was a second-generation Scientologist. He quickly became devoted and began climbing the ranks, reportedly reaching operating Thetan level 8, near the top. Cruise and David Miscavige, the church's leader, are extremely close. Some say Cruise is like the second in command publicly. Miscavige allegedly had Sea Org members build custom motorcycles, airplanes, and even a private hangar for crews. They call each other best friends. It's crazy that I think South Park went after Tom Cruise one time. I definitely remember the Trapped in the Closet episode with R. Kelly trapped in the closet, and they sent in John Travolta and Tom Cruise to try to get him out the closet. That was crazy. It's crazy he doesn't get more flack than this because people love him. Top Gun, Mission Impossible, all these movies, and it's just like, but dude is very clearly benefiting off of what is practically tricking people into sign up for billion-year slave labor, allegedly. That's crazy. It's surprising that Tom Cruise doesn't get more flack than that. It's surprising. 2005, Cruise went on media blitz promoting War of the Worlds and defending Scientology. On the Today Show, he attacked psychiatry, criticized actress Brooke Shields for using antidepressants after postpartum depression, famously told Matt Lauer, you don't know the history of psychiatry. I do. The same year, Cruise reportedly pressured Steven Spielberg to incorporate anti-psychiatry messages into the film's promotion, leading to friction. The church has allegedly used Cruise to recruit celebrities, including Will Smith. Damn, Will Smith was a part. I didn't know that. Who denies being a Scientologist, but has supported some of their schools. Katie Holmes, his ex-wife, who was reported giving Scientology handlers when they dated. Scientology heavily promotes Cruise as proof of what their practices achieve. Today, Cruise remains a devout member. Scientology still elevates him as the modern Scientologist, highly trained, highly ethical, and world-changing figure. So that takes us to Leah Remini. Back to Leah Remini, who went on Joe Rogan, who was the co-star on the sitcom back in the day, King of Queens. You know, you've seen her with Kevin James. One of the reasons why she left Scientology is because she started going to these upper parties because she is also herself a celebrity. And she basically just started talking shit about and snitching like you're supposed to. But she started snitching on the wrong people. And apparently she crossed Tom Cruise at some point. And through this, after she had made a couple complaints on Tom Cruise, they moved her to a facility in Florida, allegedly, not allegedly, she said this happened. So according to her, they moved her to the big facility in Florida at the Celebrity Center, locked her in basically, and went through a rigorous interrogation process where they basically bugged her and asked her 1,000 questions over and over again and basically leveraged her to finally just say, I just made it all up. They basically just forced her, what really sounds like interrogation and torture, basically, to finally just recant her statements. Whatever. It didn't happen. Just leave me alone type deal. And that changed her. Also, she said what changed her is when she got to OT3 and realized what the actual story was of Xenu and was like, no, this can't be it. Like, imagine the buildup, right? Imagine the buildup. You join, supposed to be some self-help stuff. We're going to tell you about the world. We're going to tell you about the universe, your existence, what we truly are, what our brains truly are, what type of beings we truly are. And you start to get excited and you start working through these programs and you're like, okay, well, I'll pay some money. I'll find it out. And then you finally get to OT3 just to figure out that their explanation of this stuff is volcanoes, hydrogen bombs, and Xenu from the Galactic Federation. The letdown has to be real. Like, it has to be real. And she keeps mentioning over and over and over again. Like, one thing about Scientology is like, it all sounded so crazy, but they kept me holding on, waiting for some piece of information that would make it all make sense. And so she was just kind of striving towards getting to the information that finally gave her like the aha moment. Like, no, I get this. This works. This makes sense. Right? But she never gets it. And then her mom was OT8. It's crazy. It's crazy. You can't speak out about the celebrities. You can't cooperate with the law. You can't really, that's why they run. That's why you see them in public when they're confronted by people with cameras or confronted or people are really doing the right thing by trying to bring light to it or trying to tell you, hey, you're in a cult. Can I help you leave? I'll do anything for you. And they just take off running. They just run because you're a suppressive person. You are not good for their well-being and their worldview. They just have been trained. Get away. And you can see that clearly. You can see that clearly through all these videos of people that are like trying to infiltrate what's actually going on there. I say all this to say, man, I've went down a lot of cults, down a lot of rabbit holes. this is one that's got me really peaked because it's like a lot of the famous cults, the Mansons, Jim Jones, a lot of them. There was that crazy one in Mexico where that dude was using witchcraft to mind control people, and then he was on the run and all these crazy things. And I've read all these stories, and this is the first one that I've really investigated that is so active today. And that's what's really gotten me shook today, is that this one's really got my attention because it's currently ongoing. I can't do nothing for the Manson family. I can't do nothing for them people. That's already happened. That's done and gone. But there's people that don't know, and they may walk in one day. They may walk in one day and be presented with something that maybe will feel like an answer to them in a tough time, or when they're in an emotionally vulnerable situation, and they may get presented with this and then locked into this, and hell, they may sign their life away for 1 billion years after being pressured and confused and audited 100 million times and asked questions until you finally say what they want you to say. And now you're literally wasting your life doing labor for this rich guy. He's loaded. The whole operation makes money, and they don't have to pay the people who run it hardly. And it's not illegal because people are signing up for it, but it should be. It should be illegal some way because they're tricking people. And I think that's what this has really caught me, because it's hurting my heart a lot bit, that someone vulnerable, because people have hit me on some vulnerable times. You know what I mean? I've been willing to believe all type of crazy shit in vulnerable situations. It's part of being a human. People shit on people sometimes. How did you get roped into that? Because they're human. And people are persuasive, and people are evil, and people will really, really dial in, like evil people will dial in systems to prey on you. And it'll feel so natural until it doesn't. And that's so sad that is something that we have to live through. And I think Scientology is the fact, and it's something that needs to die, but it's something that, even though it's facing challenges, they've been able to get so much money amassed through what basically is a real estate scam, allegedly, by using religion. It's sad. And they bring in people from all over the world, and they disconnect you, and they teach you that the world is lying to you. And when you grow up like that, I couldn't understand it. We don't know. And there's things that we're all indoctrinated into. We all are, we all have some type of belief that was forced into us, either through media or whatever. But like, not to this extent. Not like these poor people. They've been manipulated by people that have presented themselves as trustworthy. And that's one of the lowest things you can do in life. One of the lowest things you can do in life is present yourself as trustworthy and take advantage of another human being that has allowed you in because you have presented yourself in this trustworthy manner. That's one of the most evilest things you can do. So yeah, I'd like to end this by saying fuck Scientology, fuck David Miscavige, fuck Tom Cruise, fuck all these people that are clearly benefiting off of people being preyed upon. Fuck all of them. Fuck the whole organization. Fuck L. Ron Hubbard. Fuck the Thetans. Fuck Xenu. Fuck the Galactic Federation. Fuck the 200 billion people that supposedly lived on all the millions of fucking planets that they all said this. Fuck them. I say that with love. Fuck y'all. Y'all are evil people. And if there is some sort of afterlife, I really do hope you pay for preying on innocent people, because it's terrible. It's the lowest thing possible. And that's been my rant, man. This is the Joe Teel podcast. I might do a part 2 or something one day. I don't know, man. I just have to see how I pieced all this together. And so if you enjoyed this, if you enjoyed me kind of taking a different route and really investigating some stuff and then breaking it down, and you want to see more of that, please let me know, because I'm going to be real. I'm in a crossroads right now. I'm trying to understand what I'm supposed to be doing with this, because I know I have the skills. I know I love doing this. I love to learn. I love to figure things out. I love interviewing people. I love doing that. I also like trying to be funny. I like to make people laugh. And I am truly at like a pivotal moment where I'm trying to decide what this show is. And I'm just trying to work it out on the spot. So if you like this and you want more of this stuff, please let me know. That would be super helpful. And if this bombs, then I'll know maybe this is not the right route for me. But Joe Teel Podcast, catch me on Spotify, catch me on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, you'll see me there. And also, if you want extra stuff, please go to the Patreon. If you are watching this early on the Patreon, thank you for joining the Patreon. Thank you. Because this will be out on Patreon first. I will always give the Patreon people the business. I will give them that first. So thank y'all so much for tapping in. I love you. Think about this stuff. Think about how it's affecting you. And, or not just affecting you, but how it's affecting people that are getting preyed upon. And maybe we can make some type of small difference out there. Y'all be blessed. I will be back next week. Let's go.